this would look great on my wall, and it kind of, leads you through the maze of this one booth, and it's good to experiment and find that strategy.
And like I said, have your signature item, and don't be afraid to experiment more. Like most people know me as a tarot guy. My original tarot deck from 2013 is still my best-selling item, but a lot of people already bought that deck, so I felt it was time to design some new tarot deck. So you can see this was a new deck I released last year, very different style than my first one, and still not as big as a seller as my original one, but since people know me for tarot, I still do tarot. And I also have my own unique tarot deck for anime cons and furry cons, so it's not just pony cons I could do the tarot market, it's all these other cons. And you still have your jerseys, and your stuff still...
Weird.
Yeah.
It's just some weird stuff, yeah.
Right. Let's go to the fun part, setup and displays.
Oh, God.
Who here has seen my event, who's been to the vendor hall and seen my beautiful display? I am very proud of my display. I think my display is a work of art.
It's so pleasing to see before each convention. I'll take a picture and post it on Twitter, and you just look at it, you can zoom in, it's like, okay, this, incredible.
Yeah, because I have a lot of OCD, so everything has to be nice and organized, and I did study psychology at Johns Hopkins University, and neurobiology, so I know how the human mind likes to react to things. The human mind will naturally, the eyes will tend toward things that are orderly, and discouraged from looking at things that are more chaotic. So you want to have a very, very nice setup. And during my time vending, I actually came up with my own little theory. I called it maximizing visibility versus maximizing space. I'm going to explain that with some booths I'm going to talk about. So first off, these are some new vendors I met at Oldacon a few years ago. They're fantastic art students in Towson, Maryland. And you can tell that they're kind of new vendors because, they have all these fantastic prints. Really, really beautiful on their own, but they just plastered it everywhere on the booth. And you can see it's kind of chaotic. You don't know where to look. It's just all there. So your eye is not going to zone in on things. Now, what does the eye zone in on? Let's look at what the professionals do. Well, you're never bent at a booth this big, and it might look kind of chaotic from a distance. When you're looking at it from a crowd, it's actually very pleasing to the eye. These are professional vendors. They sell licensed merchandise at anime cons, and you can see they have some type of system for setting up. The tall, large wall scrolls, which could be seen from a distance, are the first things on top, and it gets progressively smaller until you have the items like the plushies and the action figures that could be seen at eye level. And once I kind of took note at looking at what professionals do and broke it down, back in 2014 for BronyCon, I basically was trying to cut my own structure. So this was an example of me trying to work out my idea for a booth. I went over my layout many, many times on notebooks. And in fact, it's better if you have a sketch pad to sketch what you want your booth to look like beforehand, instead of trying to build it on the spot and configuring it as you're setting up.
Sometimes even put it together at home, and what I would sometimes do is I'll put a stand together, I'll look at it, and then I'll come back to it a half hour later after it's out of my mind, and I'll be like, yeah, that's not good. And then just redo it, or maybe it's one little thing that you may have wanted to change.
Anything, even just, ideas that appear in your head that you can just quick jot down in a sketchbook, or got pages and pages of little fake setups, doodles.
Text yourself if you have to.
I think I have more pictures of setups than I do actual art in my sketchbooks. So this is actually what it turned out. This was for the BronyCon a few years ago. And you can see I kind of got it right. I miscalculated the size of the wall scrolls, but because I had the initial layout done, I was able to at least set it up a bit more. This was also my first year I had badges. So what I did was I put lights around my badges to attract people. Hey, these are my new items, check them out. Some cons will not allow you to do that because flashing lights might be bad at some cons, and some cons are okay with it. But like I said, good to go and do your sketchbooks over and over again. As you can see, I worked really, really hard with trying to. You can see over the years I slowly got it done. This is specific Ponycon, and this is where I got the idea of using the impulse buy item. So you can see I have a tiny little checkout window that even Screw Lewis is making fun of. That'll let it fall off the stand. But you can see at my checkout window I had baskets of buttons. Because, like we say, that's a small impulse item that when someone's checking out, they have to look through my window booth, and when they look to pay, they have to look down at the baskets of buttons, and they might find a button that catches their fancy. So that's a good thing to do. As you can see, as I slowly started progressing through my con career, I started seeing what setups we were laying out until I come to Windy City about 2 years ago, where I think I slowly began to master what one of my cons setups looked like. I think this was a really nice booth I had. It was an experiment having the two towers to have the large signs. And I didn't think that would work, so that led me to BronyCon last year, where I was trying to make use of my booth, and bam, my magnum opus right there. Look at that. And it's like I didn't.
So satisfying.
That is like one of my most beautiful. See, as an artist, you have to realize your canvas is not just a pencil and paper or a tablet. Your canvas is anything, and I think a booth setup is equally a blank canvas that it could be a work of art. And that's what I do. We artists, we look at perspective, we look at what catches the eyes, field of vision and all that stuff. And if we artists just apply that to our booths, we could, get the same impact as when people look at our art. And I think that's what we artists should apply. Don't treat the booth setup as if it's just there to make sales. Look at it like a blank canvas. This is the one for Ciderfest this year. So I like that. That's pleasing. And that's actually why I finally figured out that was good. If you look at some of my older setups, the one thing I noticed is the badges. You can still see through the cages in the back. So even though they're orderly, the human eye will still see chaos behind it. So once I grounded it in black, felt, bam, now the eye is grounded to something solid, something stable. And look at that. That's great. Alright, it's enough floating about myself, it's not my panel.
Now we get to go to the complete opposite side of the spectrum.
You have a good setup too, so explain how you organize your setup.
So this is 4 years in the making. I'm still trying to find a setup that I personally like. Basically, one of the big factors a lot of times is people are afraid to ask things, so you have to show everything. Unfortunately, shirts aren't the most ruly and most rectangular things that I can just put them on a little stand and work with. But basically, this is exactly what I'm aiming for. Behind me, I tried for a clothesline look, but the more I'm using it, the less I like it, so I'm going to be changing this for next year. But it shows every design that I have available, so people can see that what the trims are, what the colors are, what the actual cutie mark looks like on the shirt in real light. And I even have stuff behind me of washed clothing and everything. You want to try one on, go by far. To the left I don't know my left and right. The stand all the way to this side of the screen. This is something I tried new for this con. I wanted to see if I gave more walls rather than just behind me, but it would look like beside me as well. So I just ran to Target really quick, bought a $20 stand, and I tried the horizontal. Another depth with my new stuff. Those are my two new jersey designs. And then on the table, which is probably the most organized, with my dice, then the dice bags, then it rolls into my shirts, everything folded, but out of package so people could pull things up and touch things. And people like looking with their hands. It's always a great thing.
And I think I actually want to point out the differences between our display, because there's also a lot of different like I said, maximizing space versus maximizing visibility. So for example, if you look at my booth, I'm trying to fill up as much space as possible, which it's good if I'm trying to show as much product as possible. It's bad because, like I said, the more cluttered your booth is, the less the eye is going to focus on it. So I have to find that perfect balance of how much do I want to display versus how much I want people to see. And you can see, because of that, I have a really small window with my customers, so I cut myself off from my customers. So some people might not like that. It seems impersonal, but most of my art is on the outside of me. I am behind it. On the other hand, most of your art is behind you or in front of you, but you have a wide window to interact with people, so you can pitch them better.
I love talking. I love talking with people. Anyone who's been to my booth, I'm probably one of the loudest. My loud laughs, and I make any crack that I can. That's how I try to draw people in. Not so much, obviously, in my display. They look a little less appealing, at least to me. But what most of my appeal comes from, I think, is personality. So I use that to my advantage. I used to have a booth display that I would have just a small window, but the thing was so huge around me that it would almost touch the ceiling. And people were like, I don't want to go near that, it's going to fall on me. So I've broken down to just the open space and being able to draw people in. Like if I see someone walk by with just a random polo that's not mine, I'm like, hey, you look like a man of polos. And then even if they look at your stand for a second, sometimes it's all it takes for them to approach. Some people are out in the background, they're looking at the thing. I'm like, you seem intrigued. Is there anything you want to look at? Here, touch it, play with it. And sometimes having people play with the merchandise and feel it is usually a really good thing, because for a lot of people, once you get in their hands, those dice that I have on the side, they used to have a game that if you roll dice and get 3 cutie marks, you get a free dice bag. Just because I wanted you to hold the dice, and then you feel the weight, and you're like, wow, these are nice, and then you buy them.
Or my tarot cards, I have samples on display, so people feel them through their hands, shuffle them. I think the happy medium between my booth and your booth is your booth because you're both displayed but also surrounded with your art. So explain this setup here.
Alright, so this is a little different from my normal setup. I'm only one person. Normally I come with an extra 1 or 2 people with me, and that's an extra 100 pounds of luggage. So normally I'll get this kind of marquee, go with like a midnight premiere movie theme. And yeah, it's really tricky finding that medium between, selling as much as you can, especially posters, because they take up a lot of space. And at the same time, being able to present yourself as, a person. Hello, I actually want to meet you. I want to interact, especially in this community, So trying to find the time to both interact with people, but also have this setup that people will also see and interact with is interesting.
And that brings me to your normal display, because that's what caught my eye a few years ago at BronyCon. I was looking around for nice displays that stood out, and you were, I think, in the artist alley back then, and your booth stood out against everyone else's because of the unique novel concept, because your name is Midnight Premiere, and you themed your booth around like a movie theater, which makes sense. It's like, I should have themed my booth around a chocolate or a candy store, but I didn't do that. Right? But yeah, so tell us how you came up with this display, because it's a really beautiful display. I think one of the most novel ones I've seen at BronyCon.
So I started off vending with another group of artists, and first it was just a ragtag team, throw stuff up, you hope it sells. So I've only been seriously vending this past year, and I was planning at 3 in the morning, as it usually goes, and thought, well, I might as well use my name to my advantage instead of just hating the cliche midnight bit. But my family got together and we were all planning things and throwing things out. I've got a friend who's really crafty, and she said, "Oh yeah, I'll order something online. That's the marquee you see up there, Midnight Premiere. It's big, it's bright." She grabbed some scissors and we cut out holes in the little light textures and the actual lights in them, so they light up and blink. And if anything, it starts a conversation. So even if people aren't really looking for pony prints for specific things, I've had parents that don't know anything about the fandom that'll come up and just have a conversation about the booth, and that in itself is an engagement factor.
And also, talking about my maximizing space versus maximizing visibility, know what item, like I said, is your big selling item, because you want to maximize the visibility on those items. So, for example, let's compare and contrast how I display my buttons. My buttons are the basket on the left versus another artist whose main item are buttons. As you can see, I put all my buttons into a tiny little basket, while the other artist has to keep them on display. So all the buttons this artist has on display fits into a tiny little area on my table. But because buttons are their main item, they have to make sure it's visible. And to make it visible, they have to sacrifice a lot of space. On the other hand, I'm saving space while I'm sacrificing the visibility. But buttons are not my main thing. Buttons are their main thing. So sacrifice space when it comes to your main item, and then sacrifice visibility when it comes to a lesser set. And I guess if you do go to convention centers, like we all been at BronyCon, yeah. So this is also the Baltimore Convention Center where BronyCon is held. This is actually Oldacon that takes Baltimore Comic Con that takes place here, and you can see that these booths stand out very, very far. So when you go into a convention center, you're going to see all the lines of the booths. At the very, very height, you see a roof because convention centers have very big roofs. So what you're normally going to see from a distance when you walk into the door is whatever booth is big and has big signs. So at almost every single anime and Comic Con, you're going to see this tower t-shirts, where you're going to see, for example, this mystery box booth on the left. They don't sell, you can't really see what they're selling from a distance, but you can see this giant sign up there. It's like, okay, what's the sign about? It's going to kind of draw you to them. So if you're able to get away with it, and if you're only convention center, because you can't do this at a hotel con like this, is try to get a big sign or big display, so even if it doesn't really make sense, people can still see it from a distance that tracks. We'll take the questions at the end, just to make sure we get through this part first. Like I said, if you have time to do a different tablecloth, for example, different tablecloths will make your booth stand out. For example, Cute and Deadly booth.